Well, good morning. I'm delighted to have been invited by the NEHT to speak with you this morning and to think about how we all reconnect following the period of huge disruption in education over the last number of months. Because reconnecting is utterly at the heart of what we're about. Humans have a deep need to be together, to listen to each other, to learn together, to laugh, to play. And schools are so much about community, as you know. As schools have come back over the last number of weeks, that's been the key thing that we've seen, that notion of youngsters gathering together, wanting to play together, wanting to hear each other's voices, to joke, to laugh, to learn with you. And teachers have been delighted to be back as well. And of course, as the leader of the school, you're the one that is conducting that orchestra. Except that at the moment, this is an orchestra that also needs some disinfectant. So there's a tremendous amount that you've been asked to be responsible for. And I absolutely appreciate how difficult that must be. And yet we must always temper all those difficulties with the joy and with the moments of absolute love for being back together as a community. Now, thinking about all of this, of course, well-being is really important. And it's not just the well-being of other people, it's your well-being too. Because so often with head teachers, what happens is that parents come and see us, they come and knock on the door and they say, can I just talk to you about this? And this is because they've got nowhere else to go, typically. Because in the past, maybe they would have gone and spoken to their doctor. Well, you can't do that. And I don't just mean in the past sort of during the last number of months. I mean in the past for the number of years, it's been difficult to go and see your doctor. Many people don't have a faith anymore, so they may have gone to speak to their faith leader about something they were worried about, but they can come and talk to you. And one of the things that we have to recognise is that as head teachers, we absorb all of that. And there are times when we're able to provide answers and when we can feel as if someone's gone away happy. And there are other times when actually the problems that are being expressed aren't always the problems that are being talked about, if you know what I mean. So someone will come and they'll be cross about something, but actually they're not really cross with you. They're cross with their circumstance. They might be frightened about what's happening. And it's very hard sometimes to bear all those things. So I thought I'd just share a story with you about when I was first the head teacher, I was trying to be everything to all people, trying to bring the school out of special measures. And a parent came to see me and she was very cross. And she said, Mrs. Peacock, in this school, my daughter is just not getting enough reading practice. Now, her daughter was in year 2. She said, my daughter should have her book changed every day and somebody should be hearing her read every day, and that needs to be a qualified teacher. I don't want her reading to anybody else, all this kind of thing. And instead of just doing what I now realise I probably should have done, which was just to listen to her and let her get all of that anger out of her system, I tried to respond. I tried to justify what we were doing in school. We were all working incredibly hard. It felt as if there weren't enough hours in the day. Exactly what that's like. And so I tried to sort of say, look, we've got an HMI visit coming up and we need to prepare for that and all this kind of thing. And anyway, upshot was that she stood up and stormed out of the office. And as she left my office, her parting shot was, I'm going to phone Ofsted now. So that went well. Anyway, at the weekend, I was out shopping with my daughter and I happened to see a crocodile, an ornament, not a real crocodile, a crocodile, which I thought, well, that would be nice for my office. I'm just going to show you. Hang on. Here it is. Now, this crocodile has its mouth shut. And I remember thinking, this would be a great thing to put on my coffee table in my office because it's quite a nice object, but also it's got its mouth shut. And I just needed to learn from that particular time that actually nothing that I could have said would have made that parent happy, because there just wasn't an answer to all of her worries, and her worries went way beyond school as it worked out. So having that crocodile there just made me think, right, well, that's something there that will help me to remind me when I'm sitting opposite somebody who is angry that maybe I just need to do more listening and less talking. There's so much that we learn as we are head teachers as we go through the job. And what we've had to learn over the last couple of months, nobody could have prepared us for. There was certainly nothing on the NPQH about what to do when your school is required to close, when all schools are required to close. And I think one of the things that we've all been doing is we've all been trying to carry on and do the best we can and to help, whilst also carrying a huge amount of anxiety. And of course, as our youngsters come back to school and our staff come back to school, they're holding that anxiety too. So really trying to think about what are the things that we can ease off on that would help. So I don't think this is the time to be doing lesson monitoring. I don't think this is the time to be preparing for Ofsted. I think Ofsted, quite frankly, are irrelevant at the moment. And interestingly, this might just be their demise, because if you're more worried about keeping your school safe and doing everything you need to do with a skeleton amount of staff, actually Ofsted arriving is kind of almost the last of your worries. It's lower down on your priority list. And maybe that's what needs to happen, because for too long we've been driven by worrying about what they're worrying about. And actually our principles come to the fore when we think about what really matters. So again, over the last couple of months, we've been noticing so much more about our environment, about nature, about who we love, about what really matters. And I think these values and principles serve us well as we go forward within our school. There's something that's really important about compassionate leadership at this time. And this is about you being able to show compassion for others, but also the system being able to show compassion for you. We're trying to work really hard. The Chartered College is working with NAHT and others to advocate on your behalf, to speak up on your behalf, to speak up on behalf of the youngsters. If you think about what happened with the GCSE exams this summer, we want to do all that we can to shoulder some of those burdens. And what's really important for you is that you have people that you can talk to, that you can listen to, that will help you along the way. And this is not the time to try and make everything perfect. Perfect is the enemy of the good. We just need to be able to get through this. This is not the time to worry about being measured. Now, as you know, teachers and head teachers, we make such a difference. And I was in a meeting with, it's an NAHT meeting actually, with Tim Brighouse just before the pandemic struck. And he shared a quote that he has used over many years. So I'm just going to read this to you now. This is a quote from a teacher saying, "I have come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element in the classroom. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humour, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, a child humanised or dehumanised." And I think, yes, of course, that quote is very powerful, and of course it relates to the classroom, but it also relates to your school, because you make the weather. If you show your vulnerability, I'm not suggesting you cry all over the place, but if you show your vulnerability, that you're prioritising kindness and care over all of the other things that maybe you also feel they're competing for your attention, then that will help, because we all need to help each other. And over the last time, there's been so much that's been brought to the fore that makes us think this is an opportunity going forward where we can work together. One of the best teachers I've ever met is Kate Clancy. She's a teacher and a poet. She works at Oxford Spires Academy, and she works very often with youngsters who are refugees or migrants. And she worked with some young people during lockdown to help them express their feelings. And I just want to share a poem with you from her. This is from a book called Unmute. And this is the poem I want to share. It's called These Months. Will we talk about the claps, or the muffled cries, or the way the sky felt heavier? Will we tell them how hard it was to fold the pages of these months and not see blood on our hands? When they ask us about these months, how will we find the right pictures to show them, how the world suddenly felt so transparent? This is by Amani Khan. She's a 17-year-old student, and that notion of the world suddenly feeling more transparent really is true, isn't it? Because during lockdown, we were able to see much more the inequities in our society, and we were able to see what were the things that really mattered. We mustn't lose sight of those. So together with others, I think we gather as a collegiate profession. Of course, we deal with the day-to-day, but we also remember the bigger picture, because it's the bigger picture that will hold us in good stead as we go forward. So thank you for everything you're doing. I really applaud all the work that you are doing, that your teams are doing, that everybody in your school is doing. But actually, what we really need to keep sight of is the core purpose of why we're doing what we're doing, and help our young people to come through this and to look back and see this as a turning point. Stay brave, stay working hard. What you're doing is amazing, and thank you so very, very much.